Kim Kocak, and as promised, we are going to start this series where we're going to be talking to people who've been diagnosed with some form of neurodiversity. It'll be a variation of neurodiverse things like ASD or ADHD or Tourette's, and sometimes it's a combination, right? So sometimes, actually like 75% of people have ADHD as well as autism. So I will get started today with Rebecca. She graciously agreed to join us. How are you doing today?
Good.
Good. Thank you for doing this.
Of course.
What made you decide that you were going to be willing to come and chat with me today?
It was such a shock, my diagnosis that you gave me, that it also explained so many things that I am happy to help somebody else have that clarity and understanding, and I want to share that with people to understand that having this isn't something bad.
Right.
It helps you understand yourself better so you can have better tools and better management.
Yeah, right. So you've had a successful career.
Yes.
You're super intelligent. You've been with the same organization for a very long time.
Yes.
You're trusted with really important information and security type things, right? So it hasn't hindered you as much in your work environment. But how has it hindered you in your work environment?
I tend to be very black and white.
Okay.
And sometimes there's times where, I have to read between the lines or play politics, and that's not my jam at all.
Right.
I don't want you to kind of expect me to read your mind. I want you to tell me exactly what I need to do, and I can do it very well, but I need to know very specifically what you're talking about.
What the expectations are.
Yeah.
Right. So when you were young, when did this start to show up for you? Like, when did you start to think, like, I'm outside of, or something like that?
So I spent several years of my childhood in Central America, and then when I came back, I moved to Mount Pleasant, and it was then that I definitely felt outside. I always thought, up until I was 46, I guess you diagnosed me, that it was just a culture shock, going from living in a third world country to, affluent Mount Pleasant, where everybody was worried about fashion, and, I was playing with homeless kids who had one arm, and, it was always feeling like I didn't understand the group dynamics. I was always kind of the weird one and never really fit in as much as I tried to fake it.
Okay. So if that, and I'm sure it was a culture shock, so I'm sure that did play a component, right? I mean, that's a very different dynamic for sure. But it didn't adjust, right? That didn't get easier for you.
Right.
You didn't have this moment of, okay, now I get it, this is different. This continued as you went through middle school and high school, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you were about fourth grade?
I came back, I was in sixth grade.
Sixth grade.
So, I went into the sixth grade, and all through middle and high school, just didn't understand what kids wanted and what they were looking for, and I don't have any friends from growing up because I never understood them. My close friends are from college and later, because that's when I started at least understanding myself a little bit better, to not worry about blending in and being one of the cool kids.
Yeah. So when you came to see me, what brought you in? Like, what was going on that you were needing some support with?
Anxiety. I've had anxiety, a little bit of depression every once in a while, but definitely mostly anxiety. It really manifested in 2006, I think I started my master's, and that's when I really started feeling that anxiety. I went through CBT with a CBT therapist in New Jersey, and so that. And my friend found you.
Your friend found me. So would you say the biggest impact was in your relationships?
Yeah, definitely. Understanding how I process and why, like, I need some time to process and hear. Like in one relationship, he wanted to like talk about all the things right now immediately, whereas like I needed some time to understand what he was saying, how that made me feel, and then I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that didn't work.
Yeah.
And I never understood why, and I always felt like I was the one who was wrong or broken or didn't know how to have a relationship. Yeah. And now my partner knows he needs to spell it out, be very specific, and say like, this is how I'm feeling. And now that I have that diagnosis and I understand how I process things, I tell him, I'm like, I may not realize that you're struggling, so if you are, you need to tell me.
Right.
And he understands that it's not because I don't care about him, it's because I don't see that. I don't understand it in the same way other people do.
Right. So that internal narrative, when you're going through relationships and they're not working, you're struggling and you're starting to say to yourself, I'm the problem. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm the weird one, as we say, this whole narrative. So do you think that added to anxiety and depression symptoms as you were trying to navigate the world?
Definitely. Mm-hmm. It's just anxiety about like, I would come home from like a meeting at work, and we have a whole conversation, like people would be talking and I would spin it through my head constantly, like all night. I wouldn't be able to sleep. Like, did I say the right thing? Like, oh, I should have said this. Like, I'm not that quick. Like, some people are like really witty and like really on the fly. I'm not like that. Like, if I'm in an argument, I'll be like, hours later, I'm like, oh, I should have said this. Like, this is what and so I will go through conversations obsessively and like, did I say the right thing? Like, was that okay? And now there are times when after work meetings or something, I'll go to a colleague who knows about my diagnosis and how I process, and I'll be like, did I say the right thing? Like, do you think that was interpreted okay? And they'll kind of giggle and be like, yeah, you were fine. But they know that, I want to be respectful and, understand.
Right. So tell me some stories about like how this showed up at work, like when you would walk up to people in the morning, what was some of the feedback you were getting?
So for a long time, I had to learn like small talk, basically. Like I would come up and I'd have a reason to speak to somebody, like I need something, or like you called me over, like what do you need? And it was, I'd immediately get to the point, like no small talk, no dancing around. And I'd have people say like, good morning, Rebecca, how was your weekend? And I'm like, okay, I guess we're going through this. Like, so like stuff like that, I like have learned basically that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I'm better at it. Like I'll be writing an email, somebody will email me something at work and I'll be responding to the questions that they asked. Like there's no hello, there's no thanks for writing to me, like, and I have to stop and go back and like add these like social niceties, I guess.
The fluff.
Yeah. And so
but yet it's not that you don't care about these people.
Right.
It's just your brain is in this place in the moment, right? Yes. You're at work, you've got these things to do, and and these are people that you do like and that you do care about. And in a different context, you might be able to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. But in that context, it's just not what comes to your mind.
Yeah, it's we have a task to get done. Yeah. Like I need to do this, and you needed something, like here, this is, or I need something from you, and that's where my priority is. I'm not kind of like expanding from there. after that's done,
Yeah.
I might have the space to think about that.
Right.
But it's not my first
Right. It's not the first thing you go to. So you mentioned a couple times, like now that you have a diagnosis and that you chose to share with your coworkers and people in your life, does that mean that initially you were relieved when you heard this diagnosis?
I was shocked. I had no idea. It was not something, so, I have family history of anxiety. My mom has anxiety. Her sisters have, and nobody believed. Nobody.
But you also have autism in your family, do you not?
I mean, I'm diagnosed. Now that I've had my diagnosis, like I see it, like it's definitely like my mom's side of the family.
Yeah.
Like my dad's side might have like some ADHD or something like that, but it's definitely opened my eyes. Like it's not just my mom is like introverted and doesn't want to socialize. Like it's I see it now in her and in my aunts and but yeah, nobody believed it, especially my mom. But the more I learned about it and having you explain these things, like this is how your brain works, this is why, like the light bulbs just were coming on left and right, and I have less anxiety now because I understand my reactions to things and can either sometimes head off that reaction,
right,
or better manage it now. And so I do still have anxiety and do still get nervous about like having conversations or something like that, but I understand it more. I have, sharing it with my coworkers, none of them believe me at all. They're like, you're just a weirdo. And I'm like, yeah, no, I know that, but I'm a weirdo with autism. So, they understand, like, we'll be meeting up and joking around and somebody will say something and I'll turn and I'll be like, wait, are you serious or is that sarcasm? Because I want to know if I'm supposed to be laughing at this or taking you seriously right now. And there are just times where I'm not always sure, like I think it is, like my context clues are telling me that it is, but I have also missed thinking it's sarcasm and people are serious, and so but yeah, definitely was a shock, but then once it wasn't even difficult to accept, it was like I'm very logical, like you show me this evidence, like this is, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. And since then I've had less anxiety and realizing when I'm getting dysregulated, it's not as frustrating because I'm like, okay, this is causing me to be dysregulated. I need to work on this and I'll feel better. And that having that idea of control helps. I'm definitely a control person. So
having safety, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because that feels safe for me. Oh, I know what's happening. It's not just some thing that I don't like. Why am I acting like this? Why am I feeling like this? Right? But so does your family and your coworkers and your friends, do they see it now? Do they understand it differently now?
A little bit. I don't know whether, especially my coworkers, they're just like, okay, whatever. But I was just on vacation with my best friend, and I was telling her about this and telling her like why I wanted to do this interview and share. And she even said, she's like, you are a different person now that you've had this diagnosis. She's like, I can see it.
Yeah.
And thinking about it, I do feel like I'm more confident and definitely less anxious. Just knowing and understanding that, like, if I have like high levels of interoception, and like I can feel something when it's physically wrong with my body,
right?
And when I can't figure out why, then I like not knowing is what gets me upset. Because when I know, I have a course of action and I can work on it. And as long as I can work on it, even if it's not fixing it, as long as I'm working on it, I have that control and I feel better.
You have a strong sense of social justice. but you use that to your advantage. You chose a profession that allows you to use that in a way that really works, right? So you feel like you're contributing to equalizing those social injustices, right? So you found ways for your life to work for you, right? And one moment that I remember was the first time you played the game puzzle at home. Right? You're like, hold on, I got all the patterns. Now I see the difference between a neurotypical or a neurodiverse brain. You're like, yeah, this is my game.
Yeah.
I got the patterns.
Absolutely. Like that was, it was a pattern matching game, and my friend, he had done testing because he had neurodivergent children.
Yeah.
And he got tested himself and he came out normal. And this was after my diagnosis, so we played and he struggled. Like it took me like seconds to get the pattern, and he like struggled like minutes, and he finally gave up. And it was just such a like, I was amazed, and I went and I was like, I want to have it. I want to play this with everybody. I want to see like how, and it's very interesting to see how other people's brains work.
Yeah. Right? Just to observe that. They're all different. They all have strengths, but they're all different. So how has this changed you in relationships today?
I'm more vocal about what I need and how I need to communicate, and just have that confidence that I'm not the broken one. I'm not, you know, it's not my fault that I understand things differently, and I know that I need to articulate things and say, I need you to be very specific about your thoughts and tell me exactly what you need. Yeah.
So before we started the cameras, we were talking about something that often gets said is, well, they make eye contact. How do you feel about eye contact?
I mean, I'm not like, I know I'm supposed to do it.
Right.
So like, I mean, I can remember very specifically growing up that I didn't like making eye contact.
Yeah.
I always thought that it was because I was shy and introverted, and I mean, maybe that is why, but I know I'm supposed to, so I do it. Like there are times when if I'm having like a difficult conversation, like I'll make sure that I make eye contact so they know that I'm in the conversation, but I'm like looking somewhere else when it's a difficult conversation.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely can remember very specifically not wanting to, even in social situations.
So in relationships that you had previously, the reciprocal part wasn't always easy. A lot of times you were drawn to people who were very concrete and would say, I want this and I want that, because that seemed like you understood that. There wasn't a lot of ambiguity in that, right? They're like, this is what I want. What would you say about that today?
That's still very much what I like, but I now have the confidence to stand up when it's something that I'm not comfortable with. Before, I would have said like, okay, well that's what he wants. Well, that's I'm gonna be the good girlfriend and that's what I'll do. And now I have the confidence to say like, no, I'm not comfortable with that, or this isn't how I want to have this relationship. And
would you say you got taken advantage of sometimes because you were so willing to please others, because you questioned yourself, because your own self-esteem was low?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I would do, well, he loves me, so he must be doing the right thing. Like he wouldn't do something that was mean or not nice for me. So definitely, and I think also even in friendships, like in college, that was definitely something. Like I was, I'm happy to like bend over backwards for somebody, and I know for sure that some of my roommates and the friends that I had at the time would take advantage of me, and whether it against because I didn't want to nag or, you know, be the bad girlfriend.
I think, one of the things that I hear with a lot of women is this piece of, because it's always been like, I must be doing something weird. Because one of the things I remember we talked about was, you'd say like friends were, I had friends in high school, but I didn't ever quite feel like they'd be laughing at something, but it was almost more like they were laughing at me than with me. And I didn't quite always understand what that dynamic was, right? You were talking about like you were kind of oblivious to the drug scene in school. Right?
Oh yeah.
Like, you were like, what? People were doing drugs?
I had no idea that there were like drugs and guns in my high school. Like it's been many years, but like, you see it today. Obviously, it's way more prevalent, but I'm sure that it was happening. Like, and talking about like, I ended up hanging out mostly, especially my senior year, with like the weird drama crew.
Yeah.
So, hanging out with everybody, like I had no idea that a couple of them were gay. Like it wasn't something that I would say like, oh, this is somebody who's gay because they're doing this.
Yeah.
And I just was, and so when it came out later, like after I graduated, a friend was like, "Oh, so and so's a drag queen now," and I'm like, "What?" Like I never saw it. Like and the same with like, I wasn't gonna be in the drug scene, so I was sure like none of that would be happening. I'm like, no, yeah,
that's not going on.
And there are times when like I have felt stupid because I even now I would say that I'm naive to some things at times, like naive in a relationship where I think he's gonna be faithful, or I'm going to spend time with my kid and my ex-wife, and okay, nothing's gonna happen. Like I've had times where like I am friends. I think that I am just friends with male coworkers.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that this dynamic has turned into like a one-sided kind of interest in a relationship until I receive a letter in the mail professing his love for me. And I'm like, wait, what did I miss?
Right.
I thought we were friends, and now this. And I've always been the one who's like, men and women can just be friends, because I believe that. Like, sure. I'm friends with you. I have no interest in you, but I still want to be your friend because I find you interesting.
Right.
But that's not, and everybody is like, no, men and women can't be friends. And I'm like, well.
It's the age-old controversy. Can men and women be friends? I have a lot more women who say yes, right, than men.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Men say, I know other men, right? And women are like, you're just friendly. I mean, what's happening, right? But for you, you didn't see the shift. And so you get this professional.
No, not at all. Like he just, I used to joke around that, he was my straight gay friend because, I would be going out on a first date and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know what to wear, and I'm talking, telling him all this stuff. And little do I know that he's finally told me, he's like, I really don't want to hear about you dating somebody. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
We're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are hard, right? And so then, like you said, you start to feel like people think I'm naive, and I feel stupid sometimes. I'm like, well, why did I miss that? Or how did I miss that? Or why don't I see some of these things that other people are seeing? So that can feel very isolating. Yeah. Right? So again, this kind of thing starts to add to withdrawing from social situations, right? So you have some very particular special interests. What are your special interests?
Well, I foster kittens. I love it. Yeah. I really enjoy that sense of like, I know I'm good at that. Like I've saved lives. Like I have like unwavering confidence in that. Yeah. But it's also something where I don't have to interpret somebody. Like if a kitten is sick, I see the symptoms. It's very black and white. Like I can
Yeah.
tell. And even last year, I had a mother and her couple-month-old babies, and I just knew something wasn't right. And I kept telling the rescue, I'm like, she's not right. Something's not right. You know, they're like, bring her in. We'll see what's wrong. And they're like, nope, nothing's wrong. She's fine. Put her on medication. You know, she's fine. And it turns out she was already pregnant again.
Wow.
And I was like, I knew it. I'm like, I know I can read these cues. It's almost like these subtle cues I understand in animals better than I do in people. Because they're not trying to be seen in a different manner. Whereas people like have different agendas or you know different ideas of how they want to be perceived, and I only see what's there, and I'm like, I see the subtle changes in this cat. I know there's something wrong.
Right. And you like nature, you like being in nature, and you would usually, it's not that you don't like social situations, but I think it has to be pretty specific. Social situations that you actually can relax and enjoy.
Something that either I'm curious about, you know, or like interested in. Like every time I'm dating somebody new, like their interests are, especially if they're a novel interest, like I want to learn about that. You know, whether it's you know racing or dancing or whatever. Like I want to learn about that. Doesn't mean that I necessarily, once I do learn about it, that I'm going to be like all in. But I feel like in the past I've had people, well, you used to really be interested in this hobby of mine. And I'm like, well, and then I learned about it. And it wasn't interesting to me anymore, so now I'm done.
And so now I know, and I'm done. And then we'll go back to cats. And you've had people be very negative about your commitment to rescue. I mean, and that's something you've been doing for a long time, and you're very committed to that. But you've had people be very critical of your commitment to that.
And that was probably the one thing. Like, It's almost like you can make fun of me all day long, but don't make fun of my mom. Like it was almost like a line. Like, this is something that I'm passionate about. I'm good at. I'm saving lives. I'm making an impact. And like you can, you know, tell me that I'm a bad communicator all day long, whatever you want to say about me, but don't take that away from me, because you know you can say I'm not good at my job, or you know, and that happened. Like there was a long time where I felt like I was criticized about my ability at work. But then when you criticize my abilities with the rescue, like that's it. Like I take that like.
And it wasn't your direct people working with you that were criticizing you. It was a relationship that was criticizing you.
Yeah, and he would make me feel like, again, like stupid or naive, or like question my judgment and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I was able to end that relationship, have that space, and through our conversations that I realized that he was just an asshole. But like that, like I am good at my job. Like I have that confidence now. And you know, I teach now and do presentations and mentor, and you know, it gives me even more satisfaction in this job to pass on my 20-some years of experience.
That's right. And you realize how much impact after the fact that someone can have, like it's these small things over time. And when you already have these questions, and that you already feel outside of, or the weirdo, or naive, and you feel like you don't, but now that all kind of shifts. And so now when you started dating again, you were looking for different things in people, right? And there were deal breakers when it came to how they responded, and how they supported you versus took advantage of your willingness to show up for people.
And definitely through like trying to navigate that, trying to understand like what that relationship was and how toxic it was, and coming to terms with some of like, you know, the labels that it came with,
Right.
and understanding that I, you know, being that cliche, like I'm a strong independent woman, there's no way I could be that cliche.
Right.
And well crap, how did that happen?
Right.
And that, I think it took longer for me to accept that and those labels and understand that than it did the diagnosis itself,
Yeah.
because no way I could,
Right.
you know.
What? Right. That's hard, right?
Mhm.
And understanding how those things impacted you in a way that really started to compromise the satisfaction in your life, your self-confidence, like all of those things. And now you just have a different lens and you're understanding yourself differently. I've seen you grow in recognizing that early stage of, oh, I'm starting to feel dysregulated or overstimulated, and here are the things I need to do, right? Here's the ways in which I need to set my life up for success. And that's been very helpful for you. So what would you say some of the strengths are that you've gained from this, that you now see as strengths, where before maybe you didn't?
I'm realizing like I'm very detailed. Like I will see little things, which helps at work. Like it's the little things in my daily work that make a difference. As opposed to like the bigger picture. And I have conversations with my supervisor and he'll be like, well, let's do it this way. And I'll say like, why, like now he knows when I question him about what his decisions, he knows I really want to understand, like how did he get there? His brain works different than mine, and he understands now that I'm not like questioning his authority. I really do want to understand how he got to that and learn more, and I'm not as timid to do that. And
that's for them knowing, it helps them to understand, right? Because they don't take it as you're just pushing back to be pushing back or be difficult or right, like, oh, she's trying to understand so that we can all be on the same page.
I always felt like I was that problem. I always had a problem with authority because I would always question authority, but I was literally trying to understand, not just questioning to question it. I was trying to understand, like, why are we doing it this way instead of this way, and understanding like that's outside my box, and I don't, you know, so.
And you're very literal in the way that you interpret the world, right? So sometimes they're like, that doesn't make logical sense to me as to why we would do this. But when you get other information, you're able to incorporate that and say, oh, okay, now that makes sense to me. Or it doesn't make sense to me, and no. So when you first moved back to this area, you were trying really hard to find connection. And you did different things, you joined different groups and did different things. What were some of the challenges that you were having in those connections when you moved?
Some of it was just definitely different politics in this area, but also just understanding, you know, finding somebody who was patient with like trying to get to know me and stuff, and it just wasn't, it's hard to make new friends, and like everybody seemed to kind of know somebody already. People have been here for a long time, they have their circle of friends. Like I even had that when I was in New Jersey. It was hard to meet new close friends. Like I had a lot of acquaintances with the rescue work and stuff, but it wasn't somebody that I could have a glass of wine and confide in, you know. Even though like I found, you know, my best friend there and we really clicked. And she's I don't know that she's on the spectrum, but she's like me. She's very literal, she's very logical, she's an engineer, but at the same time our brains work very differently. And to the point where it's actually really funny. She'll send me stuff from the rescue in an Excel spreadsheet, and I'll tell her like, you know, I'm allergic to spreadsheets. What are you doing? It's like you know, I like writing stuff out, like having a notebook and writing stuff out, and seeing things. I'm more of a visual learner than, you know, and whereas she's on the computer doing stuff on the computer, and I'm like, I don't want to do it on the computer. I want to write it out and
Right.
make notes and
Yeah.
do it that way. And people here, sometimes it was just everybody's like too far away, but it's just not having as much in common. And you know, we want to go walk or do crafts, but it's like that was the only thing that we had in common. So.
Right. Yeah, it's tough sometimes, right, to do that. And it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that after your diagnosis, you were more open, even with the people that you thought were your friends before. Like those relationships got better because you were more open about what you were experiencing. And even when you were having a hard time, you were more apt to share that. You felt more confident to say, oh, that's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's not that I'm weird, it's that I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, and definitely, like I said, and that's one of the ways that my anxiety went down. Like I felt like I could express these things more because I wasn't just, you know, mentally ill in that, you know, kind of traditional fashion. Like there was a reason. And again, like anytime there's a reason for something, like I'm not feeling well, like the reason is this, like, okay. And understanding that makes it less stressful.
Yeah, for sure. And then your plan of action, because if you can understand what's happening, even if you can't change it in the moment, right? You're like, okay, but I know what's happening, so I can do these things, or these are the options available to me, or the skills that I need to use, or whatever that looks like. And were you getting a little discouraged by the time that you came to me about having hopefulness about feeling better or changing the relationship dynamics that you had experienced? Like, were you starting to feel like I don't know what's going to do this?
Like I was very set on, like, I was never gonna have like a long-term relationship. I was even questioning, like, I thought I was in love before he treated me so terribly. Like how I definitely didn't trust my own judgment on feelings and emotions. Thought I, you know, had one relationship here where I thought I was in love, but even still, I was like, I don't feel it. Like I don't even know what is it supposed to mean? What is being in love mean? Like I thought I was before. That obviously, I don't know, that didn't work out. Like, so definitely questioned that. And with my partner now, I was like very thrown off because I felt it immediately. And that was almost as scary and intimidating as not knowing. Like I was like, I don't know what this is. Like I physically feel it. I want to shout it from the mountains, and I don't understand why. I'm like, I haven't had really good history with this. Like, is this, what is my judgment? You know. So it was very different with right now.
But we talked a lot about, does what they say align with the action?
Yes.
Because what you were having a hard time deciphering before was they would say this thing, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go with the words, right? Because they're telling me, so I'm going to take that at face value. But then the actions didn't align, and that felt very confusing, right? And it would make you question your own core values, and you're like, well, maybe my core values are wrong, right? And that throws the whole dynamic off. But something feels off, but having a hard time articulating that. And in this relationship, it seems that the words match the action, so that clearly feels more aligned.
Yes.
And I'd also say, in a technical term, it's cognitive flexibility, right? So adapting to new situations, transitioning from one thing to another, right? Those things seem to have gotten easier because you are having more cognitive flexibility today than you had in the past. So you're able to sit back and go, why does this feel bad? And does it align with my values? And can I incorporate this? You're more open to it because you have a wider stance of safety. Because you trust yourself more today. So like you said, like I didn't trust my own judgment when it came to emotions, or to know if I was reading a situation correctly. And that's a really hard place to be when you don't trust yourself. You're like, well, I don't know. How do I know? I don't know. I don't have a knowing. And all of a sudden, you do this work, you get to this place like, oh, I know how I'm feeling. But is that right? But you were more open to it. You were more open to say, oh, yeah, this feels good, and it's aligning.
Yeah.
Right? What they say and what they do feel congruent, right?
Yeah.
They're going in the same direction.
And even now, like, you know, I'll say, like, I need you to really tell me these things. Like, you know, you say you're okay. Are you really?
Right.
Like, don't tell me like everything's fine if it's not.
Right.
Like, if you're upset that I can't come visit you, please tell me that. And it's very much on the same page. Like, no, we're fine. We're you know, independent people, and you know, even though it's a long distance relationship, we're independent people. Like, I know you have your things in your life, and you know, so it's very much.
And it's long distance.
Yes.
So it's even more challenging.
Yeah.
So communication is really important.
Yeah, and you know, after you know several of our sessions, like, I've gotten on the phone and I'm like, okay, you know, I'll be like, okay, how are you feeling with this? Like, we talked about this, so I want to make sure we're good, and it's very like open and honest, and you know, he'll say like, I need to like just vent, and you know, be like, okay, this is, you know, so having that honesty and knowing like, okay, we need to do this, and this is how we're going to be successful.
Right.
It's way less stressful.
Yeah, and it's not to say that life went away. You still have autism. There are still challenges. There's still things, but now you have a knowing. You have better self-esteem today. You have better skills today, and you set better boundaries today because you value yourself differently today. Right? It's not always why must be wrong. That internal dialogue that's often happening in the background, that's changed for you, and it shows up. Has it shown up in your health?
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed, you know, I'm more attuned with things, and I know, you know, if something's off, and like hormonal changes and stuff. Like, I'm at that time where things are, you know, starting to change.
Yeah.
But having out of nowhere feeling some kind of way and not understanding why until I go to the doctor and get my numbers tested, and yes, they're out of whack, and okay, that part of the anxiety is, I know something's wrong, but I don't know what it is.
Right.
Almost like with that mama cat.
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. Like, same with me. Like, I know, I can feel in my body that something isn't right, but I don't know. And it's just kind of like this amorphous something.
Yeah.
And hearing like, yes, there is something wrong. Your numbers are off. This is what we're gonna do, A, B, C, this is how we're gonna work on it. I know it's not gonna be fixed immediately.
Right.
But I have that plan of action and that logical step by step, and that lessens. I still have this kind of emotional like upheaval, but it's less because I know it,
and you're not judging yourself so much. You're not saying, oh, I'm crazy, am I imagining this? Like, you're not questioning. You're like, yeah, something's off. I feel something's off. I can see that something's off in this way or that way, and I'm going to go figure out what that is versus, oh, this is just me feeling crazy, or me feeling, you know, and that's a word I hear a lot from women. It's like, I just feel crazy. And I'm like, well, you're not crazy. So let's talk about what could be going on, like what's actually happening. But you're much faster to recognize that today. Say, maybe I'm not feeling well, maybe something's going on, you know, and adjusting that. I also don't hear from you the same language in regards to thinking that something external like a medication or something like that is going to somehow fix it. Not to say that there aren't reasons and times where you need medications, but before it was like, do I need to get more medication? Do I need to do this? Because you didn't know what to do with all those emotions and feelings that you were having. I don't hear that language from you anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there are still times when if something is like really, you know, tweaking me out, like I, you know, will need something to help me sleep. I'll take a sleep supplement or something, but I know I have more control over it and understanding of it. So it's less.
Yeah, it's not scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would say you present it with a lot more fear in the beginning. I don't see that fear in the same way, and that is the knowing, I think.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about recovery time.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about like the burnout or times when you have really like went overboard in your social engagement bucket, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for you?
Just a complete shutdown. If I'm doing too much peopling or too much processing, like when I teach at the academy, it's a lot of hearing things, like a lot of audio stimulation and processing, and then it's overwhelmed and I feel it physically, like I'll have like a tight chest almost, and just shut down. Like I almost feel like I want to cry for no apparent reason. I just can't do anything.
Does language get hard?
I just don't want to talk. I don't want to say anything. I don't, luckily my partner is very much aware of that, and he's literally said, if you need me just to be quiet and we'll just sit there and read in the same room, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But
because you don't really want to be alone. You just don't want the stimulation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's definitely like auditory. Like I wear earplugs a lot, and when I have a lot of, I guess, especially with people that I don't know, that I can't relax, and I feel like I'm very much aware of like how I'm acting around them.
Sure.
It's a lot more mentally exhausting.
That masking piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whether I'm, trying to teach and see if the students are doing what they're supposed to be doing and correcting them, or I'm in a meeting of people that I'm trying to remember to be professional and, act like a grown up and all that stuff, I'll get home and I'll just like, it's literally like, and I'll just sit and be a lump and not want the TV on, not want music, nothing like that.
Yeah. And you can do that for a little while, but there comes a time where there's a limitation, like when you go to teach, because it's not your typical job, right? It's something you do occasionally, but it lasts a long time when you do it, right? So, and you often are away from home during that time, you're out of your routine during that time, you're doing a lot more peopling during that time than you do in your everyday job. And does it typically take a toll, like by the end of that couple month period when you do that?
Yeah. I will come back and just it's everything affects me more than it normally would. So having somebody crack a bad joke like hits even harder than it normally would. Like my resilience is not there.
Yeah.
Or
your capacity for it is just low, right?
Yeah.
But you know that now, so you're able to you're able to do some self-care instead of judgment, right?
Yeah.
So thank you again for coming today. I really appreciate it. I know this is all personal stuff, right? So I appreciate you sharing that with everybody, so it can help somebody else. And
definitely.
I guess in the end, what would you want people to know? Like, what would you think is important?
Definitely don't be afraid of having that diagnosis. It's just a descriptor.
Yeah.
It's like I have brown hair and I'm autistic.
Right, that's right.
That's all it is. And knowing it and understanding it will definitely give you more tools to live a better life and have that freedom of understanding. So not being afraid of having that.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for sharing. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. Thanks.